ワンピースは実在する。
俺はモンキー D ルフィ、お前らを超えて海賊王になる男だ。
人の夢は終わらねえ。
Welcome
to Nerdville.
We'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Hey, how are you doing, everyone? I'm Fanfi.
and I'm Turtles.
Today, we're going to talk about chapter 1108 of One Piece. Honestly, it was an interesting chapter because it's leading into something amazing that we saw at the end, obviously. And we're going to discuss it. Let's maybe start off with the cover art, which has all of the, females that are close to the Straw Hats. I found it was, at least a very interesting artwork, right? I don't know why they're excluding certain, females. Maybe, those who have a more close connection to the Straw Hats, right?
That
Vivi,
seems
though.
probable. I mean, if you look at the choice, you have the two crewmates in there. You have Uta, which is Luffy's sister. Boa, we know, has some connection to the Straw Hat. And then we have Tashigi and Sanji's sister as well. Which makes it link to Zoro
Reiju
and
Reiju and Uta kind of make sense, right? They're like sisters to the Straw Hat. And we know that Tashigi, for instance, looks like Kuina, right? So she's somewhat related to Zoro. And Boa, well, she is, at least for now, from what we've seen, the big love interest for Luffy, right? So it kind of makes sense. I really like it. And I don't really get the dogs, though. Well, why there are so many dogs.
I don't know. I guess. I wanted to draw dogs there.
Yeah, I guess. It's kind of weird. But okay, yeah, moving on to, the events of the chapter, right? Chapter is called Attention World. We know why. If you read the chapter, you know why. We're going to start with what ended the last chapter with Caribou. So take it away, Turtles.
We get the reveal that what Caribou is going to bring to the Blackbeard pirates. He mentions that he has information about the ancient weapons, and he believes beyond, there's only him and the Straw Hats that know that information. I'm not so sure about the ancient weapon in Wano, that the world government would not be aware. But I will say that Shirahoshi is a good possibility that she had been hidden as an ancient weapon from the world government.
Yeah.
We know that they don't know
Maybe Emu knows. Maybe Emu knows.
Maybe if there was a prophecy of how that weapon would come to light, maybe Emo would know, but for now,
because the Gorosei does seem to know, for me anyways, about Pluton, right? Because at least when we saw their reaction to Wano not being open, they were like, someone very intelligent is in charge, right? So insinuating that they knew the consequences of Wano opening, right? That would open up, Pluton to the world. And it being dangerous, right? Because Wano isn't currently ready. Momo's not strong enough to protect it or whatever. It seemed like they knew, right? So it would make sense maybe if Emu at least perhaps knows about Shirahoshi. But yeah, Caribou, I think, him and the Straw Hats probably the only ones that know about Shirahoshi. Yeah.
Also, I will say, from the last chapter, we speculated that maybe he was a fanboy of the Blackbeard pirates, and I still believe that he's not. I think he's just buttering them up to get out of a situation where he feels like he needs to find an escape route, and he knows that going along with the Straw Hats is not ideal for him. He just has to hide, and he can't really do whatever he wants. That I feel like he probably feels like with the Blackbeard pirates, he could be more of a useful piece for them.
Yeah, there's definitely, the scene, right, where he says information on the ancient weapons, like when he's talking to himself in his head, right? He has that kind of look on his head, like he's scheming, right? So there is that possibility. We've seen that with Caribou a lot, that he schemes in his head, while politely talking to people, like he did with Luffy when he was asking to, I've changed, I can help you out, I'll be useful, and he was useful, right? But yeah, he could be duping them, but I do really like the idea of him being a Teach fanboy in reality, right? Because again, it parallels Luffy, and Oda likes to do that with both of them, right? With Blackbeard and Luffy. But yeah, there's definitely that possibility for sure.
But it looks like they're gonna take him with them. I don't see why they wouldn't do it. There's no risk to them. He's not a.
Just put him in a barrel for now.
Just put him in a barrel. Caribou trying to join the Blackbeard pirates and not be in a barrel ends up being in a barrel.
With the mirror image, right, between the Straw Hats and the Blackbeard pirates, him being in a barrel would be hilarious.
I'd be dying if we saw that. I'd be dying.
Especially with that last look that Katarina gives, right? He's like looking down on him. Like, I could totally see them putting him in the barrel.
Yeah. Another cool part of this chapter is we finally get to a little bit more information on Marines. Like, we get a couple of name reveals for a couple, for some of them. And I think it's really nice because the Marines are one of the important parts of One Piece that haven't been really developed by Oda. Like, we know they have a large army. We know they have a lot of vice admirals, but we never got to connect with them because we don't know who they are, right? We never got a name. It's just a face once in a while. And Oda, in my opinion, some names. We've seen some names, and he's done it throughout the story as he can, like he can. But I feel like him revealing more of those names is kind of like he's preparing something for later on in the story. And Oda doesn't give you names unless he's gonna use them, typically.
Yeah, and we know that the world government is the world government and the Blackbeard pirates, right, are going to be the two main antagonists of the final saga of One Piece, right? So giving us more information on these vice admirals who are probably not members of Sword, but more like official Marines who are going to be like antagonists of the Straw Hats, you know, it makes sense. It's cool too.
And also it gives us a glimpse of how they see how the battle is going. They're very frustrated about the fact that they have to destroy the pacifistas because like they understand that those weapons are going to be very difficult to replicate. They come up with the conclusion that they have to take out Bonnie, which is logical. She has the highest authority.
Yeah, that's what we talked about 2 chapters ago, right?
Yeah, we see one Vice Admiral actually giving an attempt to Vice Admiral Tosa that's trying to get to her, and unsurprisingly they get saved by Dorian Broggy.
Yeah,
which, by the way, impressive for them to one-shot a Vice Admiral. That's
yeah to be expected, though.
To be expected, but at the same time, it's nice to see since.
Yeah, for sure. It's official, right? It's not like with Shanks and with Mihawk where we're speculating, right? Like, we knew that they're the captains of the giant pirates, like giant warrior pirates, sorry, that are super well known throughout the One Piece world, right? So their captains were bound to be ridiculously strong, right?
Oh, for sure. And also, it's cute.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it's also cute that they've been following the Straw Hats in their adventures. Because they mentioned that they've been watching the posters to be updated on who are the new crew members that they haven't met before. And I find that like super interesting how invested they are in the Straw Hats and how big of a connection they created with them. Yeah,
they hadn't met Brooke, Frankie, or Robin, or Jinbei, for that matter, at that point in the story. And it was interesting also because, Frankie was saying that, oh, so they must be the masters that Usopp refers to all the time, right? Like, and so obviously, like, Usopp would obviously always talk about Dorian Broggy whenever he could, right? Because they're his inspiration. So getting that from Frankie is also pretty nice too. Going back to the name reveals of the Vice Admirals real quick, I just found some of them quite interesting. Like the one who could like kind of looks hardcore punk rock, right, with sunglasses and like multicolored hair, right? He's called Vice Admiral Guillotine. There's a smart one with like glasses. He's got his hand on his chin. He's called Hound. Got Vice Admiral Bluegrass, the old lady that we had seen previously, right? Who then mentions, later on that she had met Saul, which is interesting as well. And obviously the leader of this assault, who we have seen with Jay Garcia Saturn a lot. We didn't get a name reveal on him before, but it's Vice Admiral Doberman. I'm actually not sure about that. We might have seen some of these names before in One Piece, right? But again, seeing them again is a good reminder if we haven't seen them before, right?
Oh, for sure. And also, what I'm impressed about the Marines is that they're not just, following orders, especially the Vice Admiral. You can see that they're all, thinking about what's going on. They have a strategic mind. Because their last order, once they realized that they haven't heard from Tosa, that something happened, and it was probably the Giants that did something. Since they showed up.
They're smart. They make the right connections pretty quick to change their plans accordingly. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly, and now we know that they're gonna be putting more emphasis on where the giant pirate ship has landed to try to cut off the escape from the Straw Hats.
And like we said before, like, I don't know, I'm actually not sure anymore about what we said. We said that, the giant pirates were just here to help the Straw Hats escape. And I think that's was like we were influenced by, what Oda said about, Elbaf not potentially being the next arc. But maybe he's trying to mislead us, and you know, Dory and Broggy are actually here to bring the Straw Hats to Elbaf, right? And the other Vegapunks.
That's totally possible. We don't know. Like, they could have been communicating also with Shanks, since we know that that's his territory. And he might have not giving them instructions, but maybe just, you know, giving bits and pieces of information on what they should be looking for when they get to Egghead.
Yeah. And we see that, you know, we see that the Vice Admirals, you know, like you said, they're redirecting their efforts to stop Bonnie, because Bonnie is such a big threat right now in the One Piece world, you know, because again, they won't have access to Vegapunk anymore if he dies, which we assume he will. And York, I'm not sure, is going to survive. So like, if they lose these pacifistas, they're really fucked, right? Like they're in trouble. Like they'll lose a lot of resources at that point.
Like, it's something that it's not only losing the pacifistas, and I think that's why they ask if they could call off the Buster Call. It's just they realize also that burning Egghead to the ground means that even if you did have York come back, you need to rebuild that whole lab and do the whole process. And we know that making pacifistas takes time and resources.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's get to the actual interesting part of this chapter, right? With what is going on in the Labostratum with Kizaru and Saturn that looks like has a different form now. His eyes look like, I don't know, I would describe it as like a bestial kind of look, where it looks like he doesn't...
Yeah, that fits.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel that way, Fanfi, as well, but when I was reading it, it just felt like he's not thinking anymore, right? He just looks like he's just pure of rage, and he's driven by his emotions.
Yeah, well, usually we see like two sides of, right, mythical zones or zones, right? There's the hybrid form, and then there's the fully, you know, representing the beast form or whatever, like with the fully dragon form of Kaido, and then the hybrid half dragon, half human form, right? I was assuming, right, that the previous form we had seen was the hybrid form, and this maybe seems like more of a, like a full demonification, you know, like we were discussing it being possibly, you know, like a demon god fruit, or demon, seven princes of hell, like demon, like to kind of put things back into perspective and more enhancing on that point. There's like these flames coming out of the clouds that, you know, indicate the fact that it's a mythical zone awakening, and it is like we've seen that before, like flames on the back, like with the Lunarians and stuff, but it could be like depicting, you know, the flames of hell, like literally coming out of the, you know, demonic creature, right? And as you said, the empty eyes and stuff, it's more than he thinks, like he's not thinking anymore. For me, it feels like he's not there anymore completely, right? He has lost control of the demon or whatever that is, you know, part of his devil fruit.
Oh, for sure. And to add to that, I feel like the beard could also be hiding like his mandibles, you know, like the mouth that you would expect that would show you that he's in full form, but that beard gets in the way, so you think that he's still there.
Well, you got a sort of shape, right, that looks like that's where the mouth would be, right? Like if he opens that, you know, that the part of the beard that maybe is supposed to signify the chin, well, maybe that's not it. Maybe that's a mustache, right? When he opens it, you'll see like lots of like gross spider stuff.
But another interesting moment is that Vegapunk tells Luffy and Sanji when he sees that clearly Saturn has lost control and also is fully coated in poison, as Sanji mentions when he's looking at it. And we see that depiction through him hitting a tree and breaking it in half, but not only breaking it, it looks like
corroding
it's completely dark. But what's funny to me is that we know the Straw Hats always kind of fulfill their promises, and they promised him to get him out, so they're gonna take him anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, even, you know, with what Vegapunk said last chapter, you know, like basically, I'm a doctor, trust me, I know if you move me right now, I'm gonna die. Like, he's gonna die anyways.
Yeah, but he gave up. Like, we know that he gave up, I think.
Saturn is poisoning, no, for sure, but at this point, you know, like, that's why Luffy and all that were like, yeah, we get it, you're gonna die, but if you don't move, you, like, or Kizaru's gonna kill you, or this, like, giant, you know, poisoning, corroding, coated, you know, demon spider is going to, right?
Oh, and talking about Kizaru, the next part is when Saturn makes his attack, right? And they're all evading it. And as they're evading, Kizaru takes advantage of it to kick Sanji and actually laser uses laser beam.
I think it's the sword, the lightsaber sword that he uses.
It's possible as well. To pierce
Kuma or whatever it's called.
Vegapunk
That's
again. And as he's going for the kill to finish him off, honestly, I lost my mind on that panel, as you guys can see right now. Luffy just grabs him while he's in, light form. He's about to, do his become fully a Logia, and just Luffy just grabs him. And not only grabs him, if you look at the panel right under, he's clearly hurt. Like, it's not just grabbing. He did some damage. And not only he grabs Kizaru, he stops Saturn in his tracks. And that's just
it's like very impressive, like Yonko level feats, right? Like right now it's Luffy is like with that panel, right? That imposing, panel, and him grabbing Kizaru, making him bleed, all that, stopping. That is very Yonko type, feats, right?
I feel like Egghead really shows us after the Kaido, the Wano arc with Kaido, really shows us why that Luffy has reached a different level of fighting. We didn't have confirmation. We assumed that was the case, but you always had that speculation because of Kaido and how the fight went, where he needed so much help to get through him, that we weren't sure that Luffy was at that level yet. And clearly in this arc, they're just showing you that he's getting a better hang of Gear 5, and he's unbelievable.
I mean, for sure. But to be fair, let's put things back into perspective as well. When Luffy tried to knock out Kizaru, right? It knocked him out. It knocked Luffy out. Kizaru got back up, like the next chapter, right? Luffy needed to eat basically a sensu bean. Basically, for you people who don't know, just sensu bean, it's a Dragon Ball, right? But like he had to eat and regenerate and stuff, and now he's back at full strength, so he's able to do these kind of things. But I mean, Kizaru has been fighting, for quite a bit right now, and he took the damage from Luffy. He didn't get to eat a sensu bean. So like, I'm just saying, like, yeah, Luffy's impressive, but it doesn't mean that, like, right now he's outclassing Kizaru, right? Like, I don't know.
Oh, I think
it's a super impressive panel, and it's a very impressive moment, right? But I don't. It doesn't undermine Kizaru for me in any way, shape, or form.
I feel like it's more powerful.
Not from what we've seen in this arc, right?
I think this is even more impressive just because of what he says afterwards, which is, there's no way I'm letting you escape, right? Just the confidence of, I can just hold you guys. I have perfect confidence that I can hold you guys. And clearly Saturn has reached a different level of power as well. So it's not only fighting Kizaru, it's stopping Saturn, which from what I've seen so far, feels like one of the strongest characters in One Piece we've seen so far, based on the low information we got.
That scene, that panel, I mean, he is fighting Gear 5, right? Which is, also, a god fruit or whatever, right? But that scene where he's kind of doing that weird, spider leg Gatling thing is impressive. And if you get hit, like we saw with that tree, right, you're in trouble, right? Even though like Luffy has a resistance to poison, as we saw in Impel Down after his fight with Magellan and stuff, like what we saw it with Caesar and Punk Hazard as well. Like this type of poison is some different kind of level, right? Like he's just touching the tree and the tree just dies, right? Like it's like some Shigaraki type stuff from My Hero.
Another point that comes with the giants, we speculated that Joy Boy might have been a giant in the past. And the more I look at Gear 5 and how Luffy utilizes, he gets into giant mode a lot. And I wonder if it's because it was originally a fruit from a that was taken by a giant, and so there's that kind of, we know that there's an intrinsic effect with devil fruits where previous owners' personality or some of their traits is reflected into the fruit that's given to the next person. We've seen many examples.
Yeah, like with Mother Caramel and Big Mom.
Mother Caramel and Big Mom, but I think also Sabo taking the Aces fruit. The change, for me, there was a clear change in personality. There's more cockiness.
A bit, yeah.
More Ace.
A bit more aggressive.
He felt more like Ace once he got the fruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that could be what's happening to Luffy.
Going back to what you were saying about, the whole giant, I just noticed that while, looking at this panel. We also maybe get a soft, maybe not soft confirmation or whatever, but a clue by Oda that you know, Joy Boy maybe was actually a giant, right? Like, and it's been speculated, like we said, from us, from many other, you know, YouTuber creators, One Piece content creator, whatever. But here you can clearly see that the Straw Hat is still small. Like, everything has, you know, in Big End, right? To quote, you know, Marvel. But the hat is still small. While as, you know, we saw in, you know, it was episode and chapter, I don't remember, but I think it was episode like 885 or something of One Piece, right? Where we saw Emu with the Straw Hat, right? With the giant Straw Hat. So, you know, the Straw Hat isn't in beginning itself. So could that mean that, you know, Joy Boy was in fact a giant, right? Like, that's an interesting question to, you know, ask yourself with this little detail from Oda.
And so how the chapter ends is kind of on a cliffhanger, but I mean, we're not surprised. Oda loves to do cliffhangers to finish a chapter. Like, that's his thing. And it's with a big reveal that Vegapunk is gonna tell the truth about our world, as he says. And the first thing that came up to my mind is that he might reveal how the celestial dragon system actually works, and tell the people of the world that the world government isn't what it is, and that the influence of the celestial dragons is much more prevalent in the day-to-day decisions than people might think.
Another option would be, you know, revealing the truth about what happened, what the world was like 800 years ago. I think that might be too big, though. I think that's more of a reveal you get when you know, find the One Piece, right? But yeah, it feels more likely, like you said, that he's going to reveal the truth about, you know, it's a dictatorship. It's a monarchy, right? Like, you're all wrong. It's not like all the world's government, like the world nations decide together. No. And it makes sense as a contingency plan from Vegapunk. You know, you see the, I mean, in the panel where there's like the mic check, you know, testing, that scene with Vegapunk. You also see a heart monitor on that scene. So that, again, this is Vegapunk's contingency plan, and it's foolish from the world government to think that someone as smart as Vegapunk, that has been, you know, researching the Void Century, doesn't have a contingency plan for, you know, when he dies, right?
Well, you mentioned the heart monitor. I wonder if that heart monitor is not linked. Well, I think it might be linked to him, and so he planned that message would be delivered in case of his death. And once, you know, you see the flat line on it, because the panel just before is Sanji said, "Don't die on me," and he's smiling, like he knows the end is coming, and something, he knows what he's about to reveal to the world as well. And
what are you smiling about? Yeah,
for me,
sure.
the argument that you were mentioning about, you know, maybe talking about the Void Century, the only thing that would make sense to me is it seems like Vegapunk was very affected by O'Hara and what happened over there, and that was the big place that we know where a lot of research about the Void Century was done. So that what would lead me to think that maybe he might reveal that, just because he has studied all of O'Hara's discoveries, because he found the books.
Yeah, he preserved them.
Exactly.
He preserved them.
So he might do that as well.
And O'Hara knew about, you know, what happened 800 years ago. They
exactly
knew.
That's why they got Buster called on them.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to think, you know, that Vegapunk is going to spoil One Piece. When we started Egghead, that's what everyone thought. Oh my god, we're getting to Egghead. Vegapunk knows everything. He's going to spoil One Piece. We're going to get all the info. Well, not really. We got a lot of theories, you know, through Vegapunk's point of view of what he thinks, like, Devil Fruits are, what he thinks, you know, Haki is, stuff like that, right? But he's more of a theoretician. He doesn't know everything, but he does know some things about the history, as you said, right? So it's interesting to think that this is the thing that Vegapunk is going to spoil, right? In you know, layman's terms. Because as we thought, you know, it was going to be about devil fruits and stuff. That's what we thought, which we did get a bit of, but it was more of a theory. So here, Vegapunk, you know, spoiling Oda's story, you know, them using Vegapunk to give us more info that we One Piece fans crave is, you know, pretty logical. So thanks for watching, everyone. This is our discussion of chapter 1108 of One Piece. What do you guys think about all this? Do you think that Luffy has, you know, proven himself right now through Egghead to be Yonko level? What do you think about Saturn's new form? Let us know in the comments below. If you need a really long video to, like, wash your dishes or fall asleep to, we have our full backstory video on Bartholomew Kuma. Check it out at the end of the video.
See you next time.
Peace out.